The mystery of Igbo Landing. Did the slaves really walk into the water? They say on a quiet night. If you listen closely to the waters of St. Simon's Island in Georgia, you can still hear the singing of enslaved Africans. Voices that rose as they walked into the sea. Was it suicide? Was it resistance? Or something far more mysterious? This is the legend of Igbo Landing, one of the most haunting mysteries in African and American history. In May of 1803, a ship carrying 75 Igbo captives from West Africa arrived in Savannah, Georgia. They had already survived the Middle Passage, a horrific voyage across the Atlantic that claimed countless lives. The captives were then purchased by slave dealers and loaded onto a smaller vessel called the schooner York, bound for plantations on St. Simon's Island. But these men and women carried more than chains. They carried a spirit of defiance. According to local accounts, once they realized their fate, endless slavery on American soil, they made a choice that stunned history. Some say the Igbo rose up against their captors, overpowered the crew, and ran the ship aground. Then, led by their chief, they began to march into the water, chanting in their native tongue. One powerful phrase has survived through generations. The water spirit brought us here. The water spirit will take us home. Did they believe death would return their spirits to Africa? Did they see the water as freedom rather than bondage? What we know is chilling. Most of them drowned that day. Yet, eyewitness accounts differ. Some white records described it plainly as a mass suicide. Others suggested that many Igbo escaped into the marshes, living secretly in freedom. But African American folklore took the story further. According to legend, the Igbo didn't drown at all. Instead, they rose from the water and flew back to Africa. This is where fact and myth begin to blur. For generations, African American communities repeated the tale that the Igbo possessed powers, that they transformed into birds and returned home rather than accept slavery. This story became part of the larger myth of the Flying Africans, retold in Gullah culture, passed through oral traditions, and later echoed in literature, music, and art. Whatever the literal truth, Igbo Landing became more than just an event. It became a symbol. For many, it represents the refusal to be broken. Even in bondage, the Igbo showed ultimate resistance, choosing freedom in death rather than chains in life. In the 20th century, the story inspired writers like Toni Morrison, musicians, and activists. It became a reminder that enslaved Africans were not passive victims. They fought back, even when their resistance took forms that defied explanation. Still, the mystery remains. Was it truly a mass suicide? Did some Igbo survive and escape? Or was the story of flying back to Africa simply folklore created to give hope to future generations? Historians continue to debate, but the waters of St. Simon's Island have kept their silence. Today, Igbo Landing is remembered not only as a site of tragedy, but also as a monument to courage, resistance, and mystery. Visitors still come to honor the memory of those who walked into the water, their story carried forward by whispers of the waves. So, did the Igbo drown? Did they escape? Or did they truly fly back to Africa? The mystery endures, not just as history, but as a legend of defiance. What do you believe?